Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the most important recording projects ever. Oh my goodness, bar none. And this was one that one of you suggested that I thought was really an inspired pick. I really did. It solved a big problem, frankly, a really big problem for me. I'll tell you what the problem was in a second. But the project is Monteverdi's complete operas with Nikolaus Harnoncourt on Teldec. As the person in question pointed out, this was the series that put these pieces on the map. Really did. That reintroduced them to modern audiences and did it in a singularly powerful way. Now, how did you solve a problem? The problem that you solved is that Harnoncourt did so much. I mean, we've talked about him in connection with the Bach cantatas with Leonhardt. That was a joint endeavor. But by himself, he made so many recordings for Teldec, then the label Teldec. You know, there's been a big Harnoncourt box already on Sony BMG. But how on earth could you ever find a Harnoncourt edition, I mean a real Harnoncourt edition, on Teldec? Do you know how many records that would have? I'm dying to see them do it. Oh, come on, Warner, you can do it. And most of this stuff is Baroque music, it's vocal music. And so, you know, you've got texts, I mean, which you couldn't include, and there's just gobs of it. And so much of it is weird repertoire. Where would you begin? Well, this is a great place to begin because this was an epic and important series. Now, my first encounter, and speaking personally of the Monteverdi operas, was through Harnoncourt, and it wasn't through these performances, these recordings, which had existed for a while. It was that televised, later to appear on DVD and other things. What was it? It was like Zurich Opera. It was done in Switzerland or something like that, where he did the three Monteverdi operas, and I first saw Orfeo. And it just blew me away. Oh my God, I thought it was the most amazing thing. And to learn, I mean, I was like in high school. I was a callow youth. Now I'm a callow adult, but I was a callow youth. And I was thinking to myself, this was composed in 1607. It was so immediate, so vital, so vibrant, so visceral. Yeah, it had your viscerals, your viscera, like hanging out all over the place. And Harnoncourt, you remember, I don't know if you remember the production, it had like the noble people standing around there watching the play down below. And Harnoncourt, who doesn't conduct with a baton, was wearing the puffy shirt with like the fringes coming out of his cufflinks going like this. Oh, gosh, it was fabulous. Only later did I realize that he recorded the operas sort of closer to the way that they were actually intended to be performed, in the sense that they were uncut and they were done in a more sort of classic period instrument kind of way than those videos, because I love those videos. And they're equally marvelous in their way. And they were originally available like this as separate releases. And then they got boxed up by Warner, and this is out of print, of course, naturally. Some of these may be available. I don't know. It eludes me. It really eludes me why major labels issue a nice box like this. If this is really important stuff, it really is. I mean, this could be a ripe for reissue talk too. It really could. And then advertises the individual boxes or things that are in this box that you could originally get separately, and none of it's available, or most of it's not available. I mean, it's just the endless frustration of being a classical music lover and collector, because they just don't give a damn. And they issue these things without the slightest thought about like selling them or keeping them in print or letting them know how important they are. But this was certainly important, because these are iconic works in the history of opera by one of the great composers of the transition between the late Renaissance and the early Baroque periods. This is Monteverdi in his early Baroque phase. They are capable of endless, and I mean endless, interpretive nuance, because we only have a real full score of Orfeo that tells us what instruments play. Everything else is basically a short score with a vocal line. So it all has to be orchestrated and sort of recreated from scratch. And we've got some amazing singers here. We really do. And that's what I would like to talk about a little bit in these performances, because that's what makes them special. It's opera, friends. It's all about singing. Let me see if they even tell us who the singists are here. There's very little here. Well, they tell you who's in Consentus Musicus Wien. But do they tell us who the singers are? No. Why should they bother telling us who the singers are? Just because it's an opera? No, they must on the back here. I mean, they have their names listed, but I would really kind of like to know. Oh, yeah, okay, fine. Here's a cast list. So let's start with Orfeo. Well, one of the greatest things about this set is the presence of the amazing Cathy Berberian. Cathy Berberian is also better known as Mrs. Luciano Berio, and she was known for her, crazy avant-garde stuff and her early music, not much in the middle. She was an amazing singer with unlimited versatility vocally and unlimited character and personality. And it's just so wonderful to hear these complete sets. Thank God they were made to at least capture some of her artistry, because everything she did is special. Really, it really is. So what have we got here? For Orfeo in the cast, Rotrod Hansmann, and Orfeo is Laios Cosma, and the messenger and hope, Messaggera and Speranza, Cathy Berberian, there she is. Caronte is Nikolaus Simkowski, and Proserpina and a Nympha is Aiko Katanosaka. And let's see, we got Pluto is Jacques Villasek, and Apollo is Max von Egmond. Everyone takes multiple roles here. The pastor is Nigel Rogers, and pastor number 3 is Kurt Equiluz. And you've got, Consentus Musicus and those people. And it's a marvelous performance of Orfeo with more of the, ornamentation, and that's, which actually is sort of written out. I mean, in Possente Spiritu, or whatever that thing is that Orfeo sings, it's very, very difficult to sing. And in the video thing, the later production, Harnoncourt used a baritone Orfeo and got rid of most of the ornamentation and stuff that they were supposed to do. So yeah, it's much more fun to hear the original in that sense. Then we've got Il Ritorno di Ulysses, which is the least popular of the three because the story is kind of dullish. I mean, it's wonderful music, but it's all about Penelope, right? I mean, that's who it is, right? Penelope is like sitting there waiting for him to get home. Yep, there she is. Norma Lehrer is Penelope, or Penelope. Telemaco is Kai Hansen, and Jupiter is Ladislav Underko, and Neptune is Nikolaus Simkowski. And let's see, who do we have? Before we get there, Human Fragility is Sven Olaf Eliasson. Oh, and he's just so human and so fragile. And Time is Walker Wyatt, and Fortuna and other people is Margaret Baker Genovese, and you've got all these famous people: Nigel Rogers, Paul Eswood, Kurt Equiluz, Max von Egmond, Murray Dickey. Whoa, Murray Dickey, he's still around. Ooh, when was this recorded? 1971. Really kind of cool. So there's that one. That's the return of Ulysses in Patria. And then we have, the juicy one, L'Incoronazione di Poppaea. Yeah, yummy. The coronation of Poppaea. Also sort of, part of, Handel's Agrippina, which is kind of part of that sequence of things. You've got Nero and Poppaea, they're the Romans, and they're all poisoning and killing each other. And it's like I Claudius, before that. I Claudius happened before that. But it's deliciously juicy. And the cast here is, let's see, Fortuna is Jane Gartner, and Virtue is Rotrald Hausmann, and Love is soloist of the Vienna Sängerknaben. It's a boy. And then Poppaea is Helen Donat. I mean, you've got some really top-notch, major normal singers in this production, really. And Nero, Elizabeth Soderstrom. Yeah, another Kunstdiva, a seriously thoughtful and fabulous singer. And Octavia is Cathy Berberian. And Ottone is Paul Eswood, and Seneca is Gianluca Lucardi, and all these other people are in there too. Philip Langridge is in here. Goodness, he must have been 12. This is 1973 and 74 when this thing was recorded. I mean, really, it's just an absolutely fantastic cast. There are a million people in it. This is a cast of thousands type opera, and it's such a great story. With how Poppaea manages to kill and seduce and poison her way to Empress Hood. Absolutely delicious. And it's a really exciting red-blooded performance. And, in these early 1970s performances with Concentus Musicus, the instruments were still kind of creaky. They were kind of working on how to play them. Some of the sounds they make are pretty alarming. But it's all part of the charm, frankly, of these performances, part of this historical, eye-opening experience of something totally new that was really old. The newness of the old was what these performances gave us, and that's what makes them so important and marvelous. And then we have Cathy Berberian sings Monteverdi, which they put in here fabulously. Thank you, thank you, thank you. An amazing collection of stuff from all kinds of Monteverdi goodies and bits of Orfeo and the coronation of Poppaea, but also some other things too. And it's just great to have this as a memento of her art. If you don't have, there's the Cathy Berberian thing on RCA of modern Berlioz stuff. There were recitals, recital 3 for Cathy, that kind of things. And then there's Magnificathy, which was on Vergo. There's not a lot of stuff that she did. So anything that you can collect by her as just a major 20th century artist with a fabulous specialization is worth hearing. It's just worth hearing just for her. But these are great, and I totally thank the person who brilliantly, in my view, suggested that this box, if you can still find it, if you can get it, if it's reissued, which it should, or these individual operas, however you get them, it's still one of the most important recording projects ever, hands down. So keep on listening, friends, and thank you so much for joining me. Take care.